E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Natural Health and Wellness. On Wednesdays, we cover Mentoring Our Youth. And on Thursdays, our new show, Ideas Worth Knowing. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. To be able to watch our television show on your favorite device, please go to e360tv.com and download the app for your favorite device. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jimgrant and donnaguinouard. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emersonbrantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. And at 6minutewebinar.com, Jeremy is also taking it. And it is an opportunity for you to be able to get your message across in 6 minutes or less to your ideal client. Because your ideal client wants to know one thing. Are you the person they should be listening to? And the 6-minute webinar has an introduction, it has a body, it has a close, and a call to action, all within 6 minutes or less. And people value time more than they do money. And that's the website of the 6minutewebinar.com. And today, in today's show, we're going to be talking about, holistic health and wellness and all those things. And Jeremy and I are going to be sharing some things with you, but we must make a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is we're not doctors. We do not give medical advice. We share information because both of us have skin in the game when it comes to our health, you might say. And we encourage everyone to research information on their own and then discuss with their doctors to make sure they make the right decision for them and their health. And Jeremy, I'm going to let him share in just a few moments his journey. Those of you that follow the show probably know our journeys already. I had a widowmaker heart attack. I'm almost coming up on 2 years of my celebration of my widowmaker heart attack. That was on October the 29th, 2021. I had no previous signs. The cholesterol levels were good. Blood pressure levels were good. They had me in hospital the whole weekend. They told me I needed stents. I went in for stents, and they said, hey, cardiologist says stents won't work for you. You need open heart surgery. You need to have bypasses today. We cannot put this off. This is too serious. So I had the surgery. Everything went well. They sent me home, gave me a whole bunch. I had a whole bag of drugs. These were legal drugs now, Jeremy. I want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I had side effects from them, and I had to find an alternative. And I did my research with many cardiologists online, took what I found and discussed it with my cardiologist. He gave me a thumbs up. And the products that I found not only had 1, 2, or 3, but they actually had 4 clinical studies that you could read on. These independent clinical studies proved that all of these ingredients work together in perfect harmony to lower cholesterol, improve blood flow, reduce inflammation. The only thing it didn't do was reduce ugliness, and I'm still working on that one. And Jeremy says, well, good luck with that. But to finish up my boring story here real quickly, I went to my cardiologist back in August. I did the lab work the week before, went to see him. My good cholesterol was at 60. My bad cholesterol was 60. and my blood pressure is 117/65. And he said, explain to me exactly what you're doing. And I shared with him, I take that and also the dandelion tea. And he says, the only thing I recommend you to do is just add one little baby aspirin a day and don't change a thing that you're doing. So that is my skin in the game. That's one of the reasons why I have such a passion for people's health. And Jeremy, I know you do too, because your background is like, wow, are you kidding me? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm still looking for a natural medicine, remedy for ugliness. And if I find one, I'm going to patent it.
Hey,
well, patent it and brand
you'll
it.
call me. You'll call me, right?
Yeah. So if I find one, I'll certainly send you a sample.
And he's such a nice guy. He'll take a credit card too.
That's right. But I get super excited when talking about health and wellness because like many people, I've struggled through health and wellness issues. Had diabetes since 2012 and just not very well controlled, and 6 medications. At the beginning of the year, I was on a total of 6 medications. It's kind of a routine. It's like a cycle. You go in and, this ain't working. So they're going to give you this on top of that. And then pretty soon, next thing you know, you have a bag of these drugs, like you said, that, you're taking. And sometimes you get some relief, right? Sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps, but then it goes away. It's just not consistent, right? And sometimes it can cause more harm. To you in other ways. So I was able to find a natural way to reverse my diabetes this year. Reverse my neuropathy, which is nerve damage in the feet, and it's so incredibly painful. To get off the 6 medications, to get off the pain medication, to get off the insulin, to get off all that, and that really sparked some fire in me, and as a doctorate and PhD student in natural medicine, I just get really excited about sharing these different techniques that are in Western civilization a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. And you were a type 2 diabetic, I believe, and your blood sugar would be up as high. In fact, just share with them what your blood sugar levels were that were just every day.
Yeah. I often for a long time lived well over 300, but I'd be at 586, 587, which, over 300, you're supposed to go to the ER. And of course I didn't. I just lived there. That was kind of what. And of course, that began to suffer the comorbidities with that diabetes, right? The neuropathy and stuff like that. And of course, diabetes kills over 9.5 million people a year. And it's a leading cause of blindness and amputation and kidney failure. So diabetes is not an isolated effect that, you have one condition that just leads to numerous effects throughout the body.
That's true with a lot of things going on in our body because our biggest enemies is inflammation and free radicals. And we talked about that recently on a show. But today, Jeremy, you wanted to talk about holistic medicine, the integrative approach to it. And ladies and gentlemen, where we're coming from, we really believe that prevention is better than having to have intervention. It really is. And we always encourage you to do your research. And again, please discuss this with your doctors. Let them know what you're doing, because if you don't, you may harm yourself. That's very, very important. And I always shudder when some guru on TV who's a subject matter expert on stuff picks up some bottle and says, hey, this is the next fountain of youth or something. And people just flog to it blindly without any research. And that is dangerous, because you've got to know look at the reviews. I mean, there's some people that, there's great products out there that contain soy, but there's some people that cannot handle soy. Yeah. That's why you need to look and see what's in there, see what kind of test is done on it and everything. That's just the way we're wired, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, but I'd also throw out there that, isn't that exactly what the pharmaceutical companies do?
No comment, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, ask your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. They throw out the fountain of youth and they put it on television, and we all go running for it, right? So
That blows my mind when you see
Yeah.
some new drug on there. If you got this, ask your doctor if this is right for
Right.
you. I mean okay. I'm just gonna leave it at there. You folks know.
Yeah. So I think my point there is not to disparage Western medicine, but it's to say that it happens on both sides. So if we're talking about the most recent snake medicine, snake oil out there, we see it on our television every night, multiple times a night, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's the same. We just put them in suits now and white coats, right?
Yeah.
And on the commercials.
Yeah.
So we still have them.
Yeah, and also too, on the other side of the coin, you will see people advertise their natural products, and they will talk about studies that's been done on some of the ingredients in their natural product. But here's the disconnect, ladies and gentlemen. This is why you need to do your research. Their product has never been independently clinically tested to prove that its value. And that's what's known as borrowing credentials. And a lot of companies do that. And I'm just glad that the companies that we do business with don't do that, because they are the best and they don't have to do that,
Right.
And so let's get this thing off on some things. What would you like to start with, sir?
Well, I think one of the important things for our viewers is kind of maybe a little bit of vocabulary first, so as we begin talking, they can understand what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
So, we have what's called complementary medicine, right? Complementary medicine is where we kind of integrate allopathic, which is the type of medicine we practice in the West, where you go see a doctor and they give you surgery and they give you, medication, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it's an integration of the allopathic with the holistic or traditional Eastern style medicine. So you have the three different things there. You have the allopathic, which is what we're used to here in the United States, going to see your physician and getting, pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. You have traditional Eastern medicine, which is what has been practiced for over 5,000 years in most of the world. And then you have complementary, which kind of integrates the two of those together. So, we need to have understanding of what both of them are and what their philosophies are, right? Because they're totally different philosophies, right? And you kind of led me right into this discussion, and so I'm glad that you did. And I know you didn't even do it knowingly, but that whole concept of having to have all of these studies and these facts and figures is actually very Western, right?
Yes.
That's a very Western philosophy of medicine, right? And so you led me right into it, and I'm not going to disparage it or not, but that is the way that we think in the U.S., right? That's the way that we think in the Western part of the world. We have to have all of these facts, and we have to have these studies, and if we don't see them, then it's no good. The difference between that and the Eastern philosophy is that they've been doing these practices since 200 BC, or that's when it was first recorded, right? That's when we have recording 200 BC, over 5,000 years ago, right? We have the first recorded, documentation of people using natural healing modalities, right?
Yeah.
So the real issue between our philosophy in the West and the Eastern is that, we discount the effectiveness of Eastern medicine because it hasn't gone through all of what we call the trials and clinical things. However, there's documented history, right, of its effectiveness for over 5,000 years. And so that's one difference in philosophy, right, between them.
And also, too, we live in the best of both worlds, because in my situation, having the Western knowledge, the medical, the facilities and all that to perform the open heart surgery with 4 bypasses saved my life.
Yeah.
And now, because of the side effects I had from the medicine, I had to find an alternative. It's a win-win situation. So please, please, please integrate both of them to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. That's extremely important. And one other thing I'd like to mention is that Hippocrates has been credited as being the father of modern medicine. We're talking about Western medicine. But very little people know. I did my research on herbs and stuff like that back in the 90s, and I came across something, and I wish I had copied it down, wrote it down, like, because you go back to find something, you can't. Hippocrates was a huge fan of natural healing. He got in an argument. But the other individuals who were influential in that, they wanted to look at how can we, heal ourselves by inventing stuff, and we can make money at it. Money is always a huge influence for people to make the decision that they want to make. But I find it ironic that doctors take the Hippocratic Oath. Think about that. From Hippocrates, who's, like I said, the father of modern medicine, but he was really in tune with the natural medicines, the natural cures, because of the track record.
Absolutely, and that's kind of my point in sharing the difference in the philosophies. But as Hippocrates himself was said, "Let food be thy medicine."
Yes.
I mean that was Hippocrates who said that. So the guy that we credit with being, the father, like you said, of medicine, he flat out said, "Let food be thy medicine." Right?
Yes, he did.
He understood the value of natural nutrition, and you're right. There's and as we discover and we look into the difference between the two. So Western medicine is reactive, right? What that's the modality of it. It is reactive. It breaks. What they have done is they've broken the body into different parts, and so that's why you have all of these different specialists. You have a heart specialist, a brain specialist, a urinary specialist, a specialist. You have all of these different things because they've separated out the body.
Oh yeah.
And the issue with that from the holistic medicine side, in the Eastern side, is that the Eastern philosophy says that the body is a whole, right?
That's correct.
So that when the Eastern practitioners, the traditional medicine practitioners, what they look to do is not to necessarily address your illness, right? Your disease. They look to balance the body to heal the disease and to prevent it from happening again. And so that's the difference. You go see your doctor, you spend 15 here in the West, you go see your doctor, you spend 15 minutes, you tell them your signs and symptoms, they write your prescription or tell you to do an exercise or something like that. They send you on your way, right? It's reactive. It's not about total wellness, right? Very little do we see practitioners in the Western world for wellness, for actual health. It's a sickness. We go for a sickness, right? Or pain. Whereas in the East, you see the practitioners, they look at the whole body and they understand that you might be having something going on in, say, your abdomen, but it's actually connected to something going on in your throat, right? And so they look at the entire body and they work to balance it. And there's a whole lot of different techniques and modalities that are out there. I mean, you have Ayurveda that was based out of India, but practiced for thousands and thousands of years. You have traditional Chinese medicine, which includes acupuncture and qigong and tai chi, and you have in Korea. In Korea, they have their own traditional medicine, and all of their practitioners, they are actually leaders in integrating the two types of philosophies. Every one of their practitioners has to be trained in both natural medicine and allopathic. So when you go see a doctor in Korea, you get to choose with the doctor what you want. If you want to go natural, you want to go allopathic, but all providers are required to be trained in both.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you notice there on the marquee there, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. That's a federal government website. And I'd like to share something with you that's very important. This is with the National Library of Medicine. It's the Natural Center for Biotechnology Information. Like I say, it's a .gov, so it's a federal website. And on the 10th of August, 2018, they talk about the integrative medicine as a vital component of patient care. And in the landscape, I'm going to just share this with you. This is not my words. This is what's recorded on that website that you see there on the marquee. After the show, you can stop the show, you can write it down, you can read this for yourself. The landscape of medicine in the United States has been slowly progressing towards a more holistic and individualized approach to healing. Part of this process has been the integration between Western and alternative forms of medicine, a concept that has been described as integrative medicine. That is the best of both worlds. And living here in this country, as I said before, getting done what needs to be done to save my life, and then being able to have the opportunity to find something that will enhance my life. Now, dandelion tea, I found, and please research dandelion tea with any health condition that concerns you or your loved ones or a friend, whoever. But dandelion tea really enhances the health of the liver, and it also lowers inflammation in your body. And that is a huge step in the right direction, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we could do a whole show on inflammation, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so much to it. Inflammation is good in some aspects, and it's bad when it's chronic, right? Inflammation is your body's first sign to heal. It's its first reaction to heal something, right? Is inflammation. But if you have chronic inflammation, then why is your body trying to heal you? Something's broken, right? And it's causing more damage. So it's just important.
And they're even finding now that soldiers and people, first responders, people who have suffered brain injuries and stuff, that suffer from PTSD, trauma, whatever it might be, they're finding now that is more physical than it is mental. Okay. They're finding that when they balance the gut, the heart, and the brain, they get it in perfect sequence with the right ingredients, the vitamins, the minerals that it needs to reduce the inflammation, to reduce the free radicals. That starts the overall whole body healing process. That's a prerequisite to lower the inflammation. You can't get rid of it, but you can certainly lower it. And the same is true with free radicals. You need to lower that too. And that enables your body to focus on healing rather than trying to fight the alligators, and they can't drain the swamp in the process, And right. One other thing I'd like to share with you from that .gov website, it says, the approach to healthcare incorporates a patient's mind, spirituality, sense of community into the healing process. Integrative medicine has been typically well received, and the demand has been steadily increasing in primary U.S. hospitals.
Yep.
And that is amazing, because when I told my cardiologist I was having side effects from some of the medication, and I was looking at other alternatives, and I was discussing it with him, he was all for it. He was all for it because he knew people that's on the drugs that they give heart patients do have side effects or can have side effects. And mine was interrupting my sleep every hour and 15 minutes consistently around the night. So I didn't get good rest. And you can't heal yourself if you don't have proper rest.
No.
That is critical, isn't it, Jeremy?
No, it's absolutely critical, and I'm so glad that you have a practitioner, a cardiologist that is at least open to discussing that. Because I mean, here's the thing. This is what your typical MD does, right? They go get a bachelor's degree, they go to doctorate school, and in school they're taught, right, algorithms. They're taught very distinct things. Okay. If a patient says this, check, you do this, right? It's very straightforward. And so a lot of doctors are concerned about deviating from that checklist, right?
Oh yeah.
But here's the problem. If you stick to just that algorithm or that checklist, you're not addressing the root cause. You're not addressing all of the other issues in the body, right? So you come in, you say you got a headache, you've had it for 3 days, and okay, it says, okay, I'm supposed to tell you this as my patient, right? I'm supposed to tell you to take aspirin, tell you to do this, and I'm not addressing the issue, and I'm not addressing the whole body, and so you're right, and I'm glad that you shared that article from the National Institute of Health, because there is a huge. You look at Harvard Medical, all that, they're all starting to move more towards including, and not just including, but recommending holistic medicine treatments, because here's what they've come to realize. Some of them, you ready for this? They've come to realize we don't know it all.
Oh yeah,
it's not working.
And one thing too, you can rest assured, if they're starting to shift and lean into the holistic approach, working hand in hand with what they've already got established, it means they have seen the proof 100%, no question about it. And Jeremy, when it comes to the holistic approach, my goodness gracious, I am just so thankful for what we have information at our fingertips. And like I say, do the research, look at the reviews, look at the clinical studies. Don't listen to testimonies, because John C. from, Las Vegas, Nevada, who is John C.? Or who is Mary T. from Atlanta, Georgia? They may be, PhDs in that area. But look at clinical studies, because not everybody's going to have different results, because we're human and we're individual, just like our thumbprint, And that's why it's important for you to look at the clinical studies and, again, discuss it with your doctor. And you were talking about MDs. I had another issue that I had to go see the medical doctor on, and my doctor was not available, so I went to see one of the other doctors in the system. And he's looking at me and he says, looking at my record, because everything's on record in the system. He says, "You're not taking statins anymore?" And I says, "No." And he kind of like, you could tell by his body language, he thought that I was making a major, major, major mistake because of that checklist that Jeremy was talking about. This is outside of his area of expertise. And Jeremy, I think I've shared this before. Back in the 70s, when I came back from Vietnam in 1970, I had a problem with my neck that I suffered over in Vietnam. I jumped out of a helicopter, it was about 3 or 4 foot off the ground. I had a pack on my back and a radio and all that stuff, steel pot. And when I landed, it just, kind of kinched my neck a little bit. And, it was sore, but I went on, didn't think too much about it. Well, after I come back and I was stationed at Fort Huachuca, this thing here got so bad I couldn't turn my head. So my daddy went to chiropractors, and I went to a chiropractor. And he said, "Oh, yeah, right here," and he worked on my back and all that. And back in those days, a chiropractor was considered voodoo by the medical establishment. And I wish I was making that up, but that's the truth. But nowadays, the VA has already started to welcome in the positive results that can be done from a chiropractor, as well as, what's the people put the pins in your hands and all that? The acupuncturist. Yeah, because I use that too. And they're starting to recognize, just like the federal government is, because the proof's in the pudding. It's been around for thousands of years, and they know that there's something there to it. Yeah. Otherwise, they'd say, "Hey, don't do this,"
And here's the thing. I mean, here's the fact, right? I mean, some things you just happen, right? You can't explain everything, and that's one of our issues, is that we get stuck trying to explain it, right? I mean, if you think about it, people of faith, right? How do I prove God exists?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't have no clinical studies to show that God exists. But,
there you go.
Right. But here's the thing, where there's been studies that show, okay, so let's talk about this. In the US, we spend $4.3 trillion a year on healthcare, right? 29% of that is for hospitals. Another like 18%, 19% of that is on pharmaceuticals. One of the biggest costs in hospitals is pain medication. Okay, morphine being the most prescribed. Studies have shown that acupuncture is not only as effective as morphine in eliminating pain, but oftentimes more effective.
Oh gosh, yes.
Right, and so this is the issue: is that we have discounted things because we don't completely understand them, but sometimes you just don't completely understand them.
Oh, yeah. I had a sciatic nerve problem one time, and you folks that suffer from a sciatic nerve know how painful that is. You cannot stand, sit, or lie down comfortably. And I went to a chiropractor a couple of times, and he, popped me around and all that, and I feel better, but then I'd slide right back in the ditch. And I went to see this little acupuncturist guy here, and he felt to my pulse. And this is what they do. This is standard. This is not anything special. I felt in my pulse, and he says, your problem's not in your back. Your problem's in your neck. And I thought, neck? My neck ain't hurting. And then he pushed on that very place that I injured so many years ago. He says, you feel that? And I said, yeah. He said, you injured that. And he says, it went down in between your shoulders. He rolled me on the side, pushed in between my shoulder. You feel that? And I said, yes. He says that now it's went down to your sciatic nerve in your hip there. And he says, if you don't get this fixed, you'll be hobbling like an old man like this, stooped over. Well, that certainly didn't, excite me. So I'm ready for whatever he wants to try, And honest to goodness, ladies and gentlemen, he took one of the little pins out of and they're all sterilized pins, and he put it right here. Let me get right here if I can see right here. Right here, right in between the bones there, in the back of my hand, one. And I just felt like a mosquito bite more than anything else. It wasn't painful or anything. And I'm laying on my back. He pushes in there. You feel that? I said, no. He said, I got it. He rolled me on my side, pushed in between my shoulder blades. You feel that? No. He laid me back on my side. He says, now lift your left leg. I lift my left leg with no pain. And I thought, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then he says, oh, you'll need about 3, maybe 4 treatments, and you'll be fine. And that's exactly what happened. And that's a lot better than living in pain and taking pain medication and not solving the problem. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and here's the thing: a lot of Western practitioners are now actually referring people out to acupuncture because what a lot of it is because the opioid crisis. There's so much addiction. There's no addiction to acupuncture. But let me ask you this: do you really understand how that needle will work to fix your problem?
Nope, not a clue.
No, right? And here's the thing: it's because the traditional Chinese medicine, they developed this idea of their own holistic anatomy, right? You have the meridians running through your body, and so essentially he inserted that needle, stimulated the meridian, and it released and balanced the flow of what they call qi, because everything's connected by these meridians, right? And so, but you found relief, but you didn't understand how it worked.
Thank goodness I didn't have to pass a test. Otherwise, I'd probably still be in pain.
Exactly, right? I mean, here's the thing: we're starting to move. There's this shift in thinking, and part of it is because patients are becoming more educated and requesting this stuff.
Yes,
but there's also a partnership. A lot of doctors are beginning to partner with these holistic practitioners, right? And they're referring back and forth. A good holistic practitioner will always, recognize if there's a true medical condition and say, you need to go talk to your MD and then come back and see me, right? To make sure that things are good, because that's just what a natural practitioner does. But on the other side, we have these natural health coaches that are addressing the entire being of the body and stuff. And doctors are actually beginning to refer people to wellness and health coaching because they're recognizing that this one idea of treating a sickness, this reactive process, is not working, right?
Yes.
It doesn't you keep coming back for the same problem. And so, when we marriage the two together, right? So I'm not in any way saying that there's not a need for Western medicine. It's really good at acute illness. It's really good at surgery if you need it, right? You break a bone. But it doesn't address the whole health of the person. And in traditional medicine, in the Eastern side, we don't break the body down into parts. The belief in traditional medicine is that each individual is a mini universe, right? Your body is a mini universe within the,
yes, it is.
It's a microcosm within the macrocosm, right? And so you are all a part of it. And so it's just, by bringing the two together, and I'm so happy to see that Western medicine is beginning to recognize that there are natural ways to do things.
Absolutely. And Jeremy, I'd like to give a shout out to all the wonderful doctors out there and nurses who have had the courage to step outside of the normal realm of medical training and say, hey, let's take a look at this here. There's way too much proof out there, just like my cardiologist says, I've heard good things about that. Let's be prudent now, and I want you to have a lab test every 90 days to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. That's just good common sense, and that's exactly what we did. And you got to give a shout out to the medical doctors, the surgeons, the people who help us in our hour of need, to get us back on our feet, and then willing to say, hey, let's take a look at the alternative way of healing your entire body and restoring you to health, because in their heart, they have your best interest, your health at heart. They care about you. And I want to give a shout out to the doctors and nurses, because the doctors and nurses that have treated me every time I've been in the hospital, they've treated me very, very kindly. And they've put up with my complaining. Do we have to do that again? But we got to give a shout out to them, because they had the courage to be open-minded and say, let's take a look at an alternative way to help my patient who is hurting, who has an issue, and let's just see if we can use the Western medicine and the Eastern medicine and the work together in harmony. And that's why we're so fortunate to live in the United States, because that is the way things are progressing. And it's I'm just so excited, and I'm every time I hear your story, I get inspired, because my goodness gracious, I mean,
well, I think it's great, Jim, to I am so glad that some practitioners in the West are beginning to really and see that and think about the whole picture for their patient, because it's really so important, because for years now in Western medicine, again, it's about treating the disease or the symptoms you come in with, and the fact is, we might get some medication that makes you feel better and whatnot, but we're not addressing, people are still living miserable, they're living unhealthy, they're living in pain, right? But we're doing it. So if we can combine the two, and I want to give a shout out, on the other side, to all the holistic practitioners that for generations in the West have been diminished, they've been ridiculed, but they've been persistent, because they know that they have thousands of years of wisdom and thousands of years of experience and knowledge behind them. So, the fact that they didn't just give up, and, according to the World Health Organization, 80% of the world's population are treated by traditional medicine, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's important. And I think it's good to educate people and help them to share. So shout out to all those holistic practitioners that because let's face it, in the West, we've been taught that, what did we call chiropractors before? Quacks, right? Yep. We called acupuncture crazy, right? We call all this, and all of a sudden now we're coming back going, we were wrong, right? We are wrong, but they've really had to put up with a lot, especially in the West. In the East, again, everybody 80% of the population goes to a traditional medicine practitioner, right? And in fact, let's recognize the fact that our Western medicine, a lot of the medicine that we have, was actually influenced and built upon from our knowledge that we learned from traditional practitioners.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, here's a couple examples. There's the Mexican yam, right? They took the compound out of the Mexican yam and they made our most common birth control, right? Because the traditional medicine people knew about it, right? Hey, we can stop babies by you eat this and you go. You talk about aspirin. Aspirin was developed from the chemical compound off the willow bark, right? But traditional medicine, because they've written this down for thousands of years and they've used it and they've told about it, but they haven't done these clinical studies. So aspirin was actually created from the compound in willow bark, right? Because we knew the traditional. And one more here. So
Okay.
They were doing a study to try to come up with pharmaceuticals for malaria, right? And the scientists they had tested like over 200,000 compounds, and none of them worked. She did some research and read something in a traditional medicine history thing, and found a plant that had worked for these issues or whatnot. She went and developed the compound and created what is now the most prescribed anti-malaria drug. And of course, we know malaria is a huge world in poverty countries, right? So it's to me, it's kind of ironic that we had shifted to a place where we mock and we discount the reliability of traditional medicine, but traditional medicine is what built Western medicine was originally built upon.
Yes, ironically. I remember back in the 70s, Evelyn's grandmother, she always bragged about her teas, the teas that she would drink and all that. And us being young and dumb, okay, let's call it what it is. When you're young and you're dumb, you're going to say stupid things. We used to, laugh about, oh, Granny likes her, teas and all that. And it's probably got some, something in there because, we were talking about the marijuana or something, But little did we know in our ignorance that the tea, and we have found out a lot about teas. A lot of people, they swear by their teas. The benefits it has oxalic acid in it, which also helps with the health. But it's a great pick-me-up because it's a natural stimulant. And I got to share one quick story with you. I don't know if I've shared this with you or not, but to the folks out there in TV land, growing up in North Carolina, I had suffered a lot of colds and flus in the wintertime. And I was diagnosed as having chronic bronchitis. And so a good friend of Evelyn's, my wife's family, was Dr. Bribieska. He had a little hospital down there in Mexico, in Agua Prieta, Sonora, Mexico, which is the sister city across the line from Douglas, Arizona. In fact, that's where our kids were born, and that's where I had surgery one time. And I mean, it was just it wasn't a typical, environment like a hospital. I mean, people were, it was just a like I was in his home, even though it was a hospital. And he listened to me. I went down there with my chronic bronchitis, and he listened to me and all of that. And he says, let me give you a shot of B12. And he wrote me a prescription, so get this filled. And so I came back across the line to Douglas, walked into a drugstore. And here was a druggist. He was old school. White shirt, black tie, glasses. He looked at that and he says, I can't fill this prescription. He says, if I was you, I would not even take it because this has not been approved by the Federal Drug Administration. And I thought, okay. So I took it back, my slip of paper, went back across the line and got it filled. It was a product made by Merck, the German manufacturer of different type of medications. And I had to take it, it's very, very strong. I had to take a half a tablet one day, skip a day, take a quarter tablet, and this thing looked like a little white aspirin. But I tell you what, that medication, whatever it was, and I was too stupid to hang on to the bottle or anything, but I've never suffered from chronic bronchitis since then. How do you explain that? And that's what we're talking about, because that was way back before the shift started, because nowadays there's been so many thousands of years and so much proof in the holistic approach that you cannot deny it any more than you can deny that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Exactly, and that's kind of, where I think sometimes a little frustrated in the Western view, right? Is that we have to have all these facts and stuff. Well, you know what? We live our life not knowing the facts. We don't know if we're going to get hit by a car when we walk out in the street, right? But here's the thing: is that we've discounted and mocked all these natural traditions and everything for so long. And now we're starting to go, okay, now that we've actually looked at it for a long time and have but how many people did we cause to suffer needlessly because it wasn't approved or anything like that, right? So for instance, PEMF, right? Pulse electromagnetic field technology, right? A lot of people go, oh, that's crazy. How can magnets, relieve pain and heal the body and stuff like this, right? Well, now, after all of these years of being called crazy, now the FDA is starting to approve it for certain treatments of things like this, right? So it wasn't that it was never not legit. It was just that somehow it didn't have a stamp of approval on it. But so I guess there's just break it down to its most minute thing. It didn't just all of a sudden become a legit treatment just because it got a stamp on it, right? Yeah. It's been legit all of these years.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that somebody hadn't taken and put their stamp of approval on it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how once we open our mind, knowledge flows in. And, I talk about Bill Heinrich's book. I don't know if I have it here on my desk or not. I don't think I do. Yes, I do. The 7 Levels of Truth. Mr. Bill Heinrich's a personal friend of ours. And that's the 7 Levels of Truth. Let me hold that back a little bit. I always goof up the lights when I do that. That's a picture of Mr. Bill right there. He is about 2 months younger than me, so we're both 75. And Bill talks about there's only 2 emotions on planet Earth. There's fear and there's love. We're born into a world of survival. That's perfectly normal, perfectly human, and all that. But, we get down pat. We have down pat without any problem. Are we going to have enough money? Are we going to have this problem? Or is this going to happen? And we all know that over 95% of our fears never come true. Bill's approach, and this is a holistic approach too, is because the other emotion is fear and love, is embrace love in all areas of your life. And when something is worrying you, say, come here, fear. Come here, worry. Yeah. I'm going to love you. And the reason why I'm going to love you is because I'm going to find a way to remove you from my life. Because as long as you worry about that fear, it owns you. It also sends negative signals to your health. Because worry and stress has been well proven it's not good for you. But when you love yourself enough, and remember one thing, you're worthy of being loved. There's no question about that. And also love yourself to forgive yourself of things that you've done. Repent. Make amends if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Let it go. But when you love your fears and all that and you embrace it, it no longer owns you. And when you embrace an holistic approach and give thanks that we have this knowledge at our fingertips, you've just taken control of your life. That's what we're talking about here, to enhance your life. That's what Jeremy did with his diabetes. My goodness, to live in a 300, goodness gracious, you're right. You're supposed to be in the ER.
Yeah.
You really are. But
that's what we call the democratization of medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for too long in the West, it's been doctor tells you to do something, you do it. Doctor tells you to do something, you do it, right? Well, the new practitioner, the new holistic practitioner, the new integrative medicine practitioner is actually making it more of a democratic process, right? It's saying that we're going to work together to help you to reach your potential in wellness and health, right? That's the kind of practitioner you want to look for. You want to look for a practitioner that's going to say, okay, let's talk about this. What are you feeling about that? These are the different options, right? Let's do it. And if you could find a practitioner like that, you got it made, right? But that's where we need to move this system. We need to move the system to where it's more of a back and forth between the patient or client and the practitioner, right? It's not a one-way street.
Yeah. And you don't see an ad on TV and go ask your doctor if that's right for you. I think that's the wrong approach. And I really agree with you 100% on that, because the doctor and the patient both want the same thing. They want the patient to enjoy good health. Whatever the physical ailment is, whether it's an ache, pain, disease, whatever, they really, truly, both of them want you, the patient, to be restored to your natural health. And they'll, what I've seen in doctors, the vast majority of doctors I've dealt with, they're all on board about that. And the same is true with the nurses. They want to make sure that they do everything that they can to help you in your hour of need. When I was in the hospital, every single time a nurse would walk in, first question they asked me, "Are you in any pain?" I look back now, Jeremy, and I should have said, "Oh yeah, I'm hurting," and have them give me something to put me in orbit around Jupiter, because laying around in the hospital bed all week after surgery with an 8-inch incision in your chest, it's kind of boring,
It's not fun.
Yeah, that's for sure. But, I'm really looking forward to next week. We're going to be talking about gut health and probiotics.
Yes.
My goodness gracious. Oh, that is tremendous, because the gut health, that's the foundation of all your health. I heard someone say that, and I like that.
Well, if you think about it, and
ahead.
here's what big. People think of the brain as the nervous system, right? And it is a big part of the nervous system. However, the gut has more neurons in it than the brain does.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a huge connection.
Yes. And that's why when your gut tells you need a candy bar, it's got more intelligence than your brain, because you need a candy bar. I'm just kidding about that. But you're exactly right. And that goes back to a gentleman I've had on the show before, Joel. He describes himself as the professional patient. He suffered from PTSD, and he had all kind of problems. And he was the one that was saying that he works with the VA, and how the gut and the heart and the brain have to be in perfect harmony.
Yep.
That is the foundation for you to enjoy good health. Once you got that in order, now you can start addressing a disease like cancer or arthritis or heart conditions or whatever. But if your gut and your heart and your brain is all out of sequence, and they're all, going and bouncing off of each other, there's not that good signal of energy there we're talking about. You're pushing a chain uphill, aren't you, Jeremy?
Exactly. And that's why, when you especially get to a lot of natural practitioners, that's one of the first things that they try to address is your gut health, because it just affects everything else. And we'll have a great conversation on that next week on gut health and ways that we can improve it. But if your gut's not healthy, the rest of your body's not going to be. It's not possible.
Oh no, I mean, here recently for some reason I had a stomach ache one day, and I didn't feel like doing anything. It just hit you all over, that stomach ache does. And fortunately it passed in a few hours, and I took some baking soda and water, and that really helped me. Whatever it was, I don't know. But I'm just glad that I had some baking soda in the house and took some water with it, and that just helped me. Within an hour, I felt much better. But prior to that, I felt like I got kicked in the gut by a mule. Ouch. That was not a good feeling, as we all know. Well, Jeremy, our time is about all gone, and we've had a great conversation today. And ladies and gentlemen, we shared some great information with you. Please, 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 again, be sure and do your own research. Look at the studies. Discuss this with your doctor before you go out like a renegade without a GPS system. Because that's the main thing. It really, truly is. Because you got to know what you're doing, otherwise you can hurt yourself. And Jeremy, I'll tell you, I really appreciate having you on the show on this Tuesday for Health and Wellness, because you bring such a informed flavor to the show.
Well,
That's
thanks,
above,
Jim.
It's above my pay grade, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be honest.
Thanks, Jim. I'm super happy to be here, that we're able to do this together and to help people to live a more natural and well life.
And be sure and tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about gut health and probiotics. This can be a huge blessing for a lot of people because you get that gut, get your gut health there with proper probiotics, and that's the foundation of your good health. It really is. On behalf of Jeremy and myself, thank you so much for tuning in today. And we sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are healthy, happy, and blessed in all areas of your life. And remember one thing, you are worthy of love. You're definitely worthy of love. And be sure and love yourself first, then you can love others.
Yes.
And thank you again. Please share the show with others. We'll be back next Tuesday with another health and wellness show. Jeremy, thank you, sir, for being here. I salute you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.